with Gil Capps joining us, Golf Channel, NBC Sports Golf. He's going to give us all the updates and insight of the weekend right now, leading into the weekend, and what's really taking place at the PGA Championship. Gil, thanks for joining us, man. How are you?
Doing well. Pleasure as always to talk to you guys, Josh and Ryan. My one question to start this is, are guests eligible to enter that contest? Because that is one of the most underrated tours there is out there on the LPGA.
Yeah.
The golf that is played, the things you can learn. The women out there are so nice and fan-friendly. There may not be a better bang for your buck to take the family out to a sporting event than there is for an LPGA event. My only question would be, is hanging with Mike and TT, is it that great?
Yeah, no, Gil,
and experienced it yet, but that would be my only question. But everything else about it, let me know if I'm able to enter, and I'll do so.
Listen, Gil, I'm glad you said it and not me. I'm filling in for Mike today, so I didn't really feel comfortable saying that. But you took all the pressure off. I'm glad you did. And the people are going to believe you. And listen, coming from you, that means a lot because you've been to your fair share of tournaments. And I was there for the first time last year, and I'm not just saying that. I had an awesome time. We were right, at the 18th hole there, just watching chip shots all day, right on the green, and it was good golf. It really was. They do a great job there.
And such a historic legacy with golf there in that event there in Atlantic City where you guys are. So, but we'll talk a little PGA Championship here, I guess.
Yeah, I guess we should probably do that. I'll talk whatever you want, but let's start with PGA, and I'm going to let you take the reins. What's been the storyline so far? Obviously, everyone wants me to start with Tiger, but you feel free to go in the direction that you want. What's the number one storyline for you as we're in the middle of this second round and, yesterday's behind us?
Brooks Koepka. He is the story. He is the guy. I hope that whatever fights Mike's calling tonight, I hope they last longer than this golf tournament may last. Because Brooks Koepka put the hammer down yesterday with a 63 to open up, matching the lowest score ever side in PGA Championship history, and becoming only the second player ever to shoot 263s in major championships. Of course, he saw 63 last year at the PGA on his way to winning at Belle Reve, and it's just been a dominant performance. And he's right back at it this afternoon. Not right in front of a scoreboard right now, but I know he was a few minutes ago 3 under today, so he's gotten it to 10 under. If he stays there, that would match the lowest opening 36-hole total, 130 in major championship history. And obviously, he gets to a lower score, it would break it. And he's doing all this playing with Tiger Woods, which is even more impressive. To come back out, after Tiger wins the Masters, and Tiger seems like he's playing pretty well and all this hype, and yesterday to come out and beat Tiger by 9 shots, raised an awful lot of eyebrows. And Brooks Koepka is a guy, 3 major championship wins in his last 7 starts. But he's one that we're still trying to figure out because he only has 2 other PGA Tour wins. That's a ratio that's unheard of in golf. 3 major titles and of his 5 PGA Tour wins total. But he seems to be built, and he seems to have the attitude for these major championships where, it's kind of like Jack Nicklaus back in the day, and Brooks Koepka referenced it earlier in the week. It was like he was Jack had taken over his mind and his mouth. That he comes into these events and he thinks, I've already beat 3/4 of the field because they're nervous and they don't think they can win a major championship. I've already beat another 25 guys whose games don't fit a certain golf course. And he just thinks that he is mentally tougher and physically tougher than all of these other guys. And his confidence right now is sky high, and he's at the top of that leaderboard and just zooming right away. And that's going to be the story of the next 2 days. Are we going to see a records fall, a record-setting performance, and a guy reach, 4 major championship wins before the age of 30, 4 wins and 8 major championship starts, which is now we're talking Tiger-like numbers. Or
Yep.
is he going to get some of it back? Are we going to see I hate to say the word epic, but are we going to see a significant fall / collapse and a big comeback by somebody back there in the pack? Because it does have a few names chasing him.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Tiger-like, because those comparisons are starting to grow a little bit louder and louder, by the day, obviously, this weekend, and it's going to continue to do that. And in the past, it's been growing. I mean, what's on the line for Koepka? Like, what would a win this weekend do for him? And is it really fair to compare that to Tiger if he does pull this off? Is it already fair to compare him to Tiger in the early years? I mean, I know no one is on that type of level, but this is pretty darn close.
The run he's on is getting pretty close. If he were to go, 1-2-1 in 3 consecutive majors, if he were to win back-to-back PGA championships, at the same time he already holds back-to-back U.S. Open championships, in the entire history of golf, that's never been done. Nobody has held 2 consecutive titles in 2 different majors at the same time. So we were talking in just in general, right? You're talking 4 major championship wins. That's the same as Rory. That's just one less than Phil. I mean, you're already getting into rarefied air for a guy who just turned 29 a couple of weeks ago. So guys, I think all that is fine and dandy. Of course, too, it's golf. Golf is a very strange game. Golf is, you're on top of the world one day, and a 6-shot lead, it looks like, or whatever you may have on paper, it seems insurmountable. But you know what? It's nothing, and we're not even halfway through. So, but it's fun to play that speculation game because he is just putting on a show right now. It'll be fun to see if he can keep it up.
Absolutely. I mean, the game, in my opinion, and I'm sure yours as well, is in a great place. And I know you've talked about it before, but with the young talent that's in the game, and then you couple that with a Tiger Woods Masters win, this season is certainly off to a great start. But obviously I have to ask you about Tiger Woods. We have to do a Tiger Watch here with you, and I want your thoughts on his play so far. I have the leaderboard in front of me. He's through 7 today. He has a +3. He just bogeyed hole number 7. So what have you seen from his play, and what can he do here to finish off today?
Guys, I think the big question after this week is going to be what was the aberration? Was the aberration the PGA Championship? He's right around the cut line. He may not even make the cut. Or was the aberration the Masters? And, my feeling is, and look, I think the one reason why, if this was anybody else other than Tiger Woods, all the euphoria after the Masters and all of the thinking that now 15 major wins and maybe he can get 18 major wins and Tiger's back and stuff. Anybody else, that would be hogwash because history doesn't show any of that is capable. And he would have, if he were to do that, he would have to have a Hall of Fame career just from here out at the age of 43. But because he's Tiger Woods, right, you hate to say anything is not possible because this is the guy, even history tells this is the guy who's written most of history prior to this point. But I think that Masters win, in my opinion, that's the aberration. And a couple reasons for it. Number one is he got a lot of breaks that week, had a lot of fortune, and it's a place where he has an advantage that he's not going to have at the other 3 majors on a yearly basis, no matter where the golf course is and what success he's had in the past, like he'd had here at Bethpage. You think back to the Masters and a lot of breaks he got with wayward drives and still being able to lead the field in greens to regulation with his iron play. Those misses at a place like here, you cannot get away with that. And I think that's shown. He's had a hard time hitting fairways here the first 2 days. And, he hasn't, he just hasn't had kind of the energy. And I think there's so many questions about, Tiger and his health. And he knows that he's not going to be able to commit to practice and doing the things that he used to do to make him so good. I think it's one of the things people you didn't see, right? And you don't see with the greats. You just see Tiger, but you don't see that he put in as much or more effort than anybody else out here to get to that point and worked as harder than anybody else. And he's not going to be able to do that anymore. And you just can't show up. You just can't take all these weeks off and show up and flip the light switch on and have it happen again. So that's the big question. Is going to go on everybody's minds after this week and going forward to see if he can kind of pick this back up. And U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, place he's had success before, is coming up next month.
You segued into my next question perfectly because I wanted to ask you, Gil, is Tiger not playing since the Masters? Is it possible it's just slow start, rusty because he hasn't played? But I should say, but is that the best strategy for him moving forward? Is he's going to have to play much less this year and really for the rest of his career to stay relevant in the quote-unquote, big games, in the majors? He's going to have to take time off and just pick and choose his battles, or do you think that's not the best strategy?
Man, only he knows his health. That's the thing. We don't know exactly how he's feeling. We don't know the things that are going on in his life. I think beyond a shadow of a doubt, the more you play on and I don't mean like more you play like playing all the time, but getting lots of reps on a consistent basis is best for anybody's golf game. We saw that last year with Tiger in his comeback. He needed to play golf, and he added some events like he did at Tampa earlier in the year to get kind of going. And it's no matter how great you are, it's hard just to play, once a month and competitively. Competitive golf is much different than practicing. I think this week he may have been a little hampered by the weather. That's always a speculation now with him as well. You think back to last year, toward the end of the year, the success he had was when his shirts were soaked with sweat in St. Louis in August and Atlanta in September, and the Masters wasn't. It certainly wasn't cold there like it has been this week up here on Long Island. So I hate that. I don't mean to be down on Tiger, and I certainly think that we're going to see him at the top of leaderboards in the future and being in contention in certain events. I just think maybe this has kind of brought a lot of people back to reality, and dampen down some of those expectations of that 18 majors, is a real possibility, because I still don't see him getting to 18. But then again, once again, it's Tiger Woods.
Gil Capps of the Golf Channel joining us on the Boardwalk on the hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, our listeners can hear full coverage of the PGA Championship tomorrow and Sunday right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage each day begins at 2 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And Gil, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you, as of this second, there's about 22 guys under par on this course. About a round and a half into this, how do you feel the course is playing out? Do you feel like this is a course that guys can continue to get under par, or do you think that somewhere along the way the conditions are going to eventually start bringing people back down to maybe to reality?
Well, I think at the beginning, a few days ago, right around that 10 under number was was a pretty good guess as to what the winning score would be. Brooks Koepka has kind of made you think twice about that. I think if Brooks Koepka does not win, I think that's around your number. I think, the Brooks Koepka wins, it could be lower than 10 under. But this is just it's a fantastic golf course that tests every part of your game. And it's really a golf course that, as we've seen now, favors guys who can hit it out there long and straight, and also guys who can take advantage of these greens, which aren't they don't have tons of movement on them. You can make some putts on them. They're fairly big, and that's where you got a guy like Jordan Spieth who has just for the last year and a half or so kind of been in the witness protection program, and now all of a sudden he's shot 66 today. He's not too far off the lead right there, third place last I looked. A guy who, you talk about more history, there's a guy who just needs this PGA championship to complete the career Grand Slam. Only 5 players in the history of the game have ever done that. So I think you'll see similar scoring the rest of the weekend. Weather's supposed to be good, not supposed to be real windy, maybe a chance of a passing shower today, but the course is and I don't think the course is going to dry out too much either, guys. So I think you're going to see some good scoring in spots, and continue to see these big names, Koepka, Fleetwood, Spieth, Dustin Johnson, etc., up at the top of the leaderboard. And the question would be, can anybody really get going and catch Koepka, or can Koepka keep his foot on the gas and run away and record even more history this weekend at that page?
Gil Capps of the Golf Channel has been our guest here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. Gil, appreciate your time on a Friday, and we look forward to touching base with you on Monday to recap the event.
Josh and Ryan, have a good weekend, fellas.
Thanks, Gil.
And, of course, people can hear all the coverage of the PGA Championship this weekend here on 97.3 ESPN, Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. Keep it dialed right here at 97.3 ESPN FM.